This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org outside of Ground Zero, and in this video we have a very important message. Paradigms are going to be shifted, and this is going to be one of the most important videos that we release. We are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only David Icke himself. He's here in New York. He's doing a special show. We're going to be giving out tickets to the show in New York City at the end of this video. But most importantly, before we get into all of that, we had a very important conversation last night, especially when it comes to the state of alternative media. What is the state of alternative media, David?
Well, I think it's sad the way some of the alternative media has gone. In fact, quite a significant part of it, particularly in the United States, because people use this term, alternative media, as if it's like one thing. It's not. It's a vast spectrum of perception and view that goes from almost indistinguishable from the mainstream, right across to, well, people like me who are challenging and questioning everything, including the official version of reality itself. And that's fine. People can work in their particular area of interest, but the common theme for me that makes it the alternative media, wherever it is in that spectrum, is that it is questioning, exposing, and challenging the official version of whatever the subject area it's operating in. And what I'm seeing since the emergence of Donald Trump is a regression from that in terms of significant parts of the alternative media, particularly in the United States. The alternative media's basic foundation in relation to politics has been that, in effect, it doesn't matter who you vote for because the same hidden hand gets in. So it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat or Labour or Conservative in Britain, basically the same political class is in control, and thus nothing changes. It's actually deeper than that, the reason nothing changes, but that's fair enough at that level as well. Since the emergence of Donald Trump, suddenly much of that has changed. Suddenly Donald Trump, this vacuous, demagogic man who just comes out with stock phrases about everything without any substance, without any explanation of how these things are going to be brought about. This man who plays on people's fears, on people's prejudices, that somehow this man is going to take on what they call the globalists. And as a result of that, the narrative has changed in these parts of the alternative media from you can't trust any of them, it's all a rigged system, to actually it is rigged, but against Trump in favor of Clinton. And what I see is some areas of the alternative media becoming little more than an alternative Fox News, who are pushing this, well, Republican candidate in theory, this man promoting himself as the man who's going to make America great again. What does that mean, Donald? We never hear that. And so we have moved back from the narrative that made the alternative media different, which is it's not the person you should be looking at, it's the system. It's the system that says, in almost every country, not least America, that there are two parties, sometimes three, but usually two, that have any chance of forming a government. So you vote for Party A and they get into government and you don't like what they do. So to get Party A out, you vote for Party B and they get into government. Then you don't like what they do because they're just a continuation of what Party A did. But to get Party B out, you've got to go back and vote for Party A. And so you have this bang, 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 bang about change between two masks on the same face. But what has changed in this Trump era, from the moment he started to basically run for the Republican nomination, is that that's been forgotten, and suddenly Trump is different. And he's actually, in many ways, dictated the way that these parts of the alternative media are reporting things. You know, when he started coming out and saying he was going to build a wall to keep immigrants out, and he was going to ban all Muslims and all this, I noticed very clearly that when there were terrorist attacks, say in Europe, what the alternative media have become well known for and brilliant at is dissecting the official story of the terrorist event to show us actually it's a manufactured problem reaction solution to justify more police state and more control and surveillance. But what I'm seeing now since this Trump period began is that a lot of that's gone out the window. Now terrorist events are not being dissected in the way they were before by this particular area of the alternative media anyway. They're being used as a means to bash Muslims and to cast all Muslims with the actions of a few. And it's quite not disturbing, but I find it very unpleasant to see videos from alternative researchers talking about the hate of Islam and the way it's a hate religion. And they're delivering those videos with absolute hatred in their eyes and in their face. And what I'm sure many people who've kind of followed the alternative media, I'm sure many of them are a bit confused about what's going on. It's not the way anything's going to change, because what they're doing is becoming that which they've claimed to be exposing. They're becoming the polarity. They're becoming the means for divide and rule instead of bringing people together. And this situation has actually come about most demonstrably since Trump came on the scene. And the idea that he is someone who is not part of the establishment, I mean, please, you become a billionaire in real estate and casinos and all these things without being part of the establishment. You depend on the banking system to do what you do, and you're not part of the establishment. You interact all your life with these pillars of this hidden hand in all its forms, and you're not part of the establishment. I mean, here's a question. It's very clear now, obvious from even emails, that the Democratic hierarchy stitched up the nomination for Hillary Clinton and made sure that Bernie Sanders was not going to get it. Do we really believe that if the Republican establishment, despite the rhetoric of a few people, didn't want Trump, that he would have gone through that entire process and come out as the nomination? I mean, it's ridiculous. Those two people were chosen to run against each other before the whole process started. So how does that square with Donald Trump being this man on the white horse who's coming in to challenge the establishment? How does it square with Donald Trump talking about Edward Snowden in terms of not only is he a bad man for revealing these things that the public need to know about surveillance and the NSA, but words to the effect of, and basically execution is still legal. This is a man who's challenging the establishment. His foreign policy for quote ISIS is to baby, what was his words, basically bomb the shit out of them. This is a man that parts of the alternative media are pushing for president on the basis that this is going to be transformative and stop the expansion of this new world order global state. It's ridiculous. And why it's happening, there's probably many reasons for it, but it's it borders on the embarrassing for the alternative media.
It's embarrassing, but it also has a way of showing people who really is in the game, because this regression, as you called it, like we've been talking about last night, is massive. It's expansive. We went from people saying the system is rigged, don't vote for the lesser of two evils, to saying, well, let's trust the system. Well, he's a little bit less evil. Let's put all of our faith and energy into this. And that media power, the media is one of the most important tools, and we are finally coming up underneath the ashes. We are finally coming up and actually making a significant difference, but a large portion of us have regressed back into the old paradigm of divide and conquer. And it's not only with the establishment, it's not only with the system, it also has to do with race, with Black Lives Matter versus White Lives Matter. It has to do with sex, with feminists versus men's rights. It also has to do with religion, with Muslims versus Christians and Catholics. This divide, which is being pushed on all of us, is dividing and conquering all of the people. Meanwhile, the very people who control everything on the top, they're just laughing. And the people who were fighting it originally, they're playing into it. Yeah. And it's like, what the hell? We were getting so far. We're making such a significant difference in this world with that alternative media. But if you can, David, talk about the kind of a larger infighting that's happening, because we don't want infighting. We want to bring humanity together, because all of us here on this world together, we could create a better, amazing place, but it's up to all of us to put our differences aside, understand each other, and move forward, and that's not happening. And with the power of media, with more biased information, with more kind of propaganda, which ultimately information is, which you select and choose, we're going in an opposite direction. Talk about the problem of this huge divide and conquer happening all over the internet right now.
Well, the thing is, the number of people in full knowledge of what they're doing in terms of pushing the world into this global fascist dictatorship, as this global police state where the less than 1% dictate to everyone else and the police state hold that status quo, which is what I call the Hunger Games society. The people that are actually in knowledge and full knowledge of what they're doing is so small, they have to divide and conquer and play off against each other the target population. I mean, one way of doing that, for instance, is to put some of the target population in uniform to keep the rest of the target population in place, dictated by the laws of the less than 1% ultimately. But when you look around society, you see all these fault lines that are there waiting to be exploited. As you say, religion is a classic, playing religions off against each other, playing races off against each other, playing income brackets off against each other. And the alternative media, in its most effective way and expression, should be realizing that anything that divides is serving that which they say they're challenging. So to play a part in adding to that division is not least through black and white and Muslims and non-Muslims and many other things. He's actually doing the very opposite and serving the same force that they've spent all these years saying they were challenging. The alternative is not division, but it's coming together. One of the things I really press and talk about at length in these talks on this World Speaking Tour is that we have to reevaluate who we are. I mean, this may sound like esoteric navel contemplating, but it's not. It's fundamental to how we get out of this mess, not by finding solutions to the problems, but by removing the cause of the problem. You know, if the cause of the problem is divide and rule, then removing the cause is to come together and to see each other in a different light. Now, one of the things that where I'm coming from is that we need to reevaluate our self-identity from our name, our race, our religion, our income bracket, our life story, which I call phantom self, to the realization which this system has sought to keep from us, not least through religion and mainstream science, that we in our prime eternal form are simply awareness, a state of being aware. All these forms and bodies and black and white and all this stuff are just vehicles for this awareness to experience itself. Thus, in our prime form, we are all the same awareness having different experiences. I put it like this: we are different points of attention within an infinite awareness. And that point of attention can be the size of a pea, or it can be massively expanded. And the difference in the way those 2 points of attention see the world and see world events and see each other is colossal in the way that the differences in perception. Now, what this system is seeking to do, because in the shadows, deep in the shadows, they know that this is how it is. They're seeking to focus and hijack human attention absolutely in the 5 senses. So the only sense of awareness, the only sense of perception, the only sense of anything is the world of the 5 senses. And in the world of the 5 senses, they are their name, they are their income bracket, they are their race, they are their religion, and everything is apart from everything else. Thus, at the point of attention of I am 5 sense me alone, the potential for divide and rule is absolutely limitless. And that's why they want us in that state of attention, that state of self-identity. Once you re-evaluate our self-identity from I am David Icke, and who does this, that, and the other, to I am infinite awareness having an experience called David Icke, and all the labels that people give themselves, they're all experiences, they're not who we are. Then you start to realize that whether you're black or whether you're white, whether you're following this religion or that religion, is irrelevant to the fact that we're all in the end one consciousness. And therefore these positions of division, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm an atheist, are simply states of perception. They're not real, they're states of perception. And if we can just go beyond the 5 senses and realize this place is an illusion and all the labels are illusory and transitory, then the ability for, say, someone to be divided against a white person against a black person because you're black and I'm white, or otherwise, because racism is not just a white thing, then if you say, well, you're just a different point of attention to me, and you're experiencing this narrow band of frequency, because that's all it is, in a black body, and I'm experiencing it in a white body, but actually, hey man, we're each other. And we start to see that what we see as firm, immovable differences are just firm, immovable perceptions of self-identity.
I'm very happy you talked about consciousness, because ultimately I think a lot of the problems stem from ego, stem from pride, because we are in an arena, just some people decided to throw bread to appease the people, but to ultimately help the people you kind of have to say things that they always don't want to hear. And it's been a constant personal battle myself in the independent media sphere. Do I say things to get more clicks? Do I say things to build a bigger audience? Do I say things to go with the crowd? Or do I make people actually question reality, stick to the official principles and guidelines that I've always stuck behind, and tell people the truth? And it's been hard, especially when it came to Ron Paul. Everyone got on the Ron Paul bandwagon, and I was like, no, it's still playing politics. It's still playing within the establishment. Same with Gary Johnson. Everyone's, oh my God, the libertarians are going to have a great year this year. I'm like, no, watch out for the Koch brothers. Watch out for all the things he's going to be doing. Even Bernie Sanders, people disliked my videos thousands and thousands of times. People unsubscribed. Even with Trump, and I'm like, hey, let's talk about his connection with Henry Kissinger. Let's talk about him torturing, murdering people. And I get a lot of flack from it, but months later, when we're proven right, those people come back and they're with us more than ever because we never led them astray, because we always stayed principled. But that personal battle, that kind of ego to appease people, prevalent, because ultimately it comes down to a popularity game with a lot of people who try to gain self-esteem, who try to gain validation by having the most amount of people like them. And when you play that, it's a very dangerous game. How do you deal with it?
Well, my philosophy and approach right from the start, 26 years ago, has been basically build it and they will come. Speak your truth. Even though people may not accept that at the time, if it does have validity, then eventually it will be shown to be so, and people will come towards you rather than you going towards them. We live in a world in which people are programmed from cradle to grave through peer pressure, parental influence in the early years, through the mainstream media, through the education system, and all these things. And if people download this version of normal, this version of how things are, fire engine going past, by the way, then if you're going towards them to appease them so they like you or so they agree with you, then you're going towards the program. If we're going to make a contribution, then it's dismantling the program, dissecting the program, showing it's a program, showing it's not real, it's to keep you in perceptual servitude to a belief system that suits the state. And of course, when you do that, then that which is still seeing the program as normal is going to call you mad, it's going to ridicule you, it's going to dismiss you. But if what you say, like I mentioned, it has validity, eventually more and more people will start to see that. And they'll move off what I call this postage stamp consensus.
For so many years now, you didn't try to appease anybody. You didn't try to gather as many people as you could. You spoke your truth no matter what it was, no matter how many people were offended by it, no matter how many people were mad at you. And you've been at the brunt of so much hatred against you, but you always stuck to being the truest version of yourself, which is extremely important. But once you give away your power and you make your power, I want more likes, I want more clicks, I want more followers. You're not yourself.
How do you do that? You become them.
Exactly.
You have to become them, so because people are looking to people to agree with them. So when you're way out off the postage stamp, then people, you're obviously often way away from people's perceptions and beliefs. Mm-hmm. So they're going, the guy's looking mad, that man. And therefore, if you want more clicks and pats on the back and more kind of adulation, then you have to go towards them. Even though you might not want to, you go towards them because adulation and clicks are more important to you than standing in your own power and in your own self. So what you have to do is you have to become them, that which you wish to attract, by saying that which you may not believe, to engage with them and them to engage with you. My philosophy is simple: speak your truth and whatever happens, happens. Because the alternative of not speaking your truth, or speaking your truth, is not speaking your truth. And where's that going to take us? If you can program someone to believe they have no power and they are little me, their experience every day will be of someone who has no power and is little me. So the downloading of perception takes everything, because this world is just a holographic, in fact, illusory physical reflection of human perception, individually and collectively. And so all through our lives, if you look at it, from the moment we come into this world, our perceptions are being engineered and downloaded And if we take them on, and if we believe in them, then we will manifest the world that those perceptions reflect. No power, little me, I have no control over my life. That will manifest. If we come from the point of view of we have power and potential to manifest our own reality, that we are not little me, we are infinite awareness having a transitory experience, then we create a different reality. Suddenly, the lives of those people become synchronistic adventures, where things that you need come into your life without you looking for them. Where you could find symbolically a sixpence in a desert, compared with people who live phantom self lives who nothing ever happens to. You know, people say, oh, nothing ever happens to my life, it's so boring, every day's the same. Why? Because your perception of yourself is that, thus your experience must be that. Now this complete, utter and total connection between perception and experience is understood by that hidden hand. And that's why the human mind is bombarded 24/7 with downloads of perception. We've got to take our minds back. We've got to take our self-identity back. And when we do that, everything must change. Because this is a movie screen. I say symbolically, actually it's a holographic movie screen, and it's very, very short of just symbolic. I'm talking virtually literally. If you want to change the movie, you don't change the screen or what's on the screen by shouting at the screen. Even here in Zuccotti Park, you don't even change it by protesting at the screen, where the Wall Street protests were. What you do is you change the projection that's making those pictures appear on the screen. And that projection is in here, and it's called self-identity and perception of reality. That's the stadium in which this world will change or will stay the same. And the alternative media that is still stuck in the world of the five senses, which I have to say is the vast majority of it, needs to start moving in its perception of reality. Otherwise it will go on going round and round in circles within five sense reality, believing in five sense reality is real, and it will change nothing. And eventually, as it changes nothing, it will start to recede and regress back into that it came out of. And I'm seeing it now. And it's got to stop if we're going to make a difference.
Wow, that's a major information download. 100% with you, 100% agree. If you want more of David, he's doing an all-day talk in New York City in a few days. The person who comments first and is in New York City will get a ticket to this. The other tickets will be given out on twitter.com/Luke We Are Change. We have about 5 tickets we're going to be giving out, so you could be in attendance at David Icke's event in a few days here in New York City. The link will be in the description below. Wow, wow, wow. Cheers, 100% agree. Great to see you again, Luke. Great to see you again. Anything else? Any last parting words?
When anyone tells you to be anything but yourself, whether it's a parent, whether it's peer pressure, whether it's the blokes at work or the people down the bar, walk away. Walk away. I am me, I am free. I am someone else, I'm in jail.
This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org here in the barrios of Caracas, Venezuela, one of the top murder capitals of the world. What am I doing here? I'm crazy. As a journalist, I try to give you stories that all the other journalists are afraid to show you. I want to show you the raw truths of exactly what's happening in this world, but I think I did too much coming here to Venezuela. I'm joined by another crazy man, the one and only Jeff Berwick of the Dollar.